couple days ago, on July 4th, I ran the Peachtree Road Race. It was my sixth time running the Peachtree Road Race. My first race was back in 2018 at the age of 53. Today, I'm a little bit older. I'm age 60. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my performance in this year's Peachtree Road Race and what the differences are between just the age from when I first ran it 7 years ago to now, and also with the way my training has changed. I was training exclusively for running back then. Now I'm training more for lifelong strength and health. So I want to talk about that, review the race, and give you some ideas and tips on how you can train to run a race without necessarily running exclusively. So I hope everybody is doing well on this live stream, first Sunday of July 2025. Summer is in full swing. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July, Independence Day weekend, and we're here for another live stream. So talk a little bit about the Peachtree Road Race, how I trained for it, what my results were over time compared to what I did this year, and talk a little bit about how that fits in with the concept, what we're talking about here in the channel of building lifelong strength and health, which is really the race that I'm trying to win in the long run, is to be as mobile and healthy, as strong, as long as possible and as late into life. And I think doing things like, running or other exercises, and even doing races, training for competitive events, whether it's running, swimming, biking, hiking, whatever it is, can help you as you pursue that goal of lifelong strength and health. So let's get into it. So the race is held every July 4th. I think this year was the 56th running of the Peachtree Road Race. Every July 4th, it's put on by the Atlanta Track Club. And this year, there were I think there ended up being about 54,000 runners in the race. It was as high as almost 60,000 before the pandemic dropped off a little bit. It's building back up. A lot of people, 52,000, 60,000. Who can tell the difference, really? It's just a lot of people on the road. But it is a really fun race. It's super well organized. The logistics are done right. Great support from the Atlanta community. The whole length of the course, it's a 10K course, 6.2 miles. That whole 6.2 miles has people on the sides cheering. You've got bands, all kinds of stuff going on. So plenty of stuff to kind of keep you distracted if you want to be distracted from the race, or just support from the community is great. And you finish up in Piedmont Park, which is the big park here in Atlanta. A lot of events happen in Piedmont Park, and they have a good post-race venue. You've got vendors and just a great atmosphere and a great vibe. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is that it's run on July 4th. And if anybody is, all over the country right now, I mean, summer can be hot. And here in the South especially, we get a lot of humidity. So one thing you can pretty much be guaranteed is that the race is going to be warm and it's going to be humid. Now, the race starts early in the morning. They start running, the elite runners go off at like quarter to 7 in the morning. I started at about 10 to 7 or so, 6:50 in the morning. And that time this year, I think the temperature was 74, 75 degrees, and the humidity was way up there. So instantly, pretty much as soon as you start moving, you're starting to sweat. And the temperature just goes up pretty quickly. My wife walked the event, and she was a few waves behind me. She started a little bit before 8 o'clock, and when she finished about an hour and 40 minutes later, it was already about 84, 85 degrees, and the sun was up and humidity was up. So yeah, it's definitely warm. So that's one of the things that I tried to do in my training over the last 6 or 8 weeks, is to try to adapt to running and working hard in the heat and humidity. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But before I do that, let me kind of go into my history with the Peachtree Road Race. I've been active ever since high school. So what, 45 years at this point, being 60. I started basically running track when I was a sophomore in high school. So age 14 or 15, here I am 45 years later. The majority of my aerobic activity since 1980 has been running, primarily running. I've also done a lot of road cycling, but primarily from racing and trying to be competitive and that type of thing. Running has been the primary event for me. I've always enjoyed running, and I was decently okay at it. Not super competitive, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the nature of running, and was pretty good. So I've always been able to push myself as a runner. So when 2018 came along, was coming off a period of where I had done a lot of road cycling, pretty much from 1998 through like 2013 or 2014. And I kind of got away from road cycling because it was too dangerous. I just didn't feel comfortable riding on the roads. So from 2014 through 2016, 2017, I was still doing a lot of aerobic conditioning. I was doing some running here and there. I was doing a lot of rowing on the Concept 2, some indoor cycling. But 2018 came along, and a friend suggested, "Hey, maybe you might want to, do the Peachtree Road Race." And I said, "Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and train for that." So I entered my first Peachtree Road Race in 2018 with minimal kind of run training. I didn't do a lot of training prior to that, run specific training. And then I got a little bit better in 2019. 2020 came along. There was a virtual road race in 2020. 2021, as you'll see, was my best year, and that was when I was most fit running wise. So it's been a good history. I plan on continuing to do the Peachtree Road Race, but let's take a look. So my first year was 2018, and at that point I was not a member of the Atlanta Track Club. If you're a member of the Atlanta Track Club, you get pretty much a guaranteed entry into the road race. Now you'll be seeded based off of your times, but if you're a member, you get guaranteed entry. In 2018, I was not a member, so I entered the lottery and I got in, but I was in wave X. I think there was wave Y or wave Z at that point. So I was almost the second to last wave, which the majority of the people in the second half of the waves are primarily walking, which is fantastic. But I wanted to run, so I spent a lot of time zigging and zagging and trying to get around people and run as fast as I could. And I ended up running a 53:18, so 8:35 a mile. I was pretty happy with that, considering I didn't do a lot of running up to that point, and all that zigging and zagging I had to do. So that was a good start. 2019, I got smart and joined the Atlanta Track Club as a member, which guaranteed me an entry, and I ran a little more. I didn't do a lot of super specific run training or 10K race training, but I got it quite a bit faster. My time was 47:14, so this was at age 50. Was that 4 or 5? This was age 54, going on, 54 and a half, going on to 55. So much better. I felt a lot better about this time because I had done a lot of specific training for this. And 2020 came along, the whole pandemic thing. They did a virtual uh, Peachtree, and I think my time was 40, 44, something like that. But it wasn't the Peachtree course. It was just a local loop around here, which isn't the same as running on the actual course, which, as you'll see in a little bit, it's got a couple hills in it. So 2021 came around. Now this year is probably I'm probably never going to go this fast ever again in my life. This was 2021. I'd gotten back into running pretty seriously at this point, especially halfway through 2020. I trained to do a half marathon. It was the Pittsburgh half marathon. It was supposed to be in person in May of 2021, but they went virtual, but due to the aftermath of the pandemic. But I did a pretty good time on that, so I was pretty fit. So I just introduced a little more intensity, a little more speed into my running, and ran the in-person 2021 Peachtree, and I did 44:36, which was for what I call the modern era, right? Anything after like age 40, age 50 is was a fantastic time for me. So I was very, very happy with that. Um, I did not run in 2022. I was injured. And that was kind of the year that really switched in my brain. I switched from trying to be exclusively being competitive in running at this point to just more of that lifelong strength and health concept. So I'd gotten kind of basically a repetitive strain injury. It was a hip adductor on my right hip, and that pretty much took me out of 2022 as far as trying to race, trying to train and be competitive from a running standpoint. So I didn't run it in 2022. 2023 came along and I was healthy again. I was running and I was focused on trying to do a pretty good time. I did 47:56, which at this point I was 58 going on to 59. So felt pretty good. I was definitely competitive in my age group at this point. Don't think I'll ever, like I said, I don't think I'll ever get back to that 44 that I did in 2021 because I'm just not. Maybe I could get there if all I did was running, but I'm not. I'm never going back to just doing running at this point. I'm always going to do a mix. So I was pretty happy with this 47:56. 2024 came along and I was not. We were signed up for the Peachtree, but were not able to to participate that day. So I did not compete in 2024. So here we are in 2025, and I did some specific 10K training, but I didn't go crazy. I really didn't start training specifically to try to run a quick 10K until um, April, which I'll show you here in a little bit, kind of how my running changed and kind of how what I was doing overall, and then kind of how I refocused for a couple months to get myself ready to run a 10K running race. So that I'll be saying came out in on Friday and had a pretty good result. This was actually faster than I expected. I thought I would maybe be somewhere around 50 minutes, just kind of based off of a couple of faster 10K runs that I had done around the area here. It's got some ups and downs, sort of like the Peachtree. So I thought, yeah, I ran like 52 there and it was pretty challenging, but I said I could probably get a couple extra minutes out of that if it was in a race situation. So this 48:05 was really surprising to me. I was actually surprised that I went this fast, and I still came out pretty competitive. 48:05 was 2489 out of 43,580. I think the final number actually ended up being about 52,000. I was 2,035th place in the male category, and I was 17th in my age group, which 60 to 64. I can't believe I'm in my seventh decade. So in the 60 to 64 age group, I ended up being 17th out of 1,548 that were in there. Now, what's interesting is a couple years, up until last year, I think, they had at the chip at the start, they had one split at 3 miles or 3.1 miles and then the finish. But they added little mats that you run over at all the miles. So it was kind of neat to see the miles. So this year, I did first mile was 7:47. So I was kind of getting into it. A lot of people jostling right at the start, even with me being in the first wave. There were a lot of people. So I ran 7:47. It was pretty good. The second mile starts to go downhill mostly. So I was able to knock out a 7:22 for the second mile. The third mile was pretty much mostly downhill, kind of a steady downhill down to I think the low point of the race, and then you go back up at that point for mile three. So mile three, from mile two to mile three, the third mile of the race, I did 7:21, which was really good. And this point, I was looking at this going, man, I don't want to blow up and just be, blow up with 2 miles to go or something. So I was trying to moderate my effort, but I still ended up doing a 7:21, and I felt okay. So I kept going. Fourth mile was the slowest mile. And as you'll see when I show you the race profile here in a little bit, it's almost all uphill. So that was fine. I was, well under actually my pace that I was hoping to do for 50 minutes, even going uphill. So I was pretty good with that. The next mile, mile 5, is kind of rollers. So it's not all uphill, but it was kind of up and down and up and down. And I gassed myself. I was a little out at the end of, at the top of the hill. So I did 8:17. The sixth mile, uh, I think this is from mile 5 to the finish, was 7:27 a mile pace, which was pretty solid. So I ended up at about 7:45 a mile for 48:05 total time. So very, 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 very happy with that, and that proved to me that a couple of things. One, that my overall aerobic conditioning is pretty solid. And then secondly, with just, really about 8 weeks of just focusing a little bit more on the running specifically to get my legs used to running and kind of adapting myself to running faster for longer, especially in the heat and humidity, it worked out. So that proved to me that even at age 60 and not running exclusively, in other words, I do a mix. If you follow me or you hear me talk on all of the videos here, if you follow me on Strava, you know that I do walking, I do rucking, I do rowing, I do indoor cycling on Zwift, I lift, and then I also run. But so I just focused my effort on running a little bit more for these last couple of months, just to make sure that I was um, uh, ready to be able to actually run a 10K, not just finish, but be able to push myself in that 10K race and hopefully get a good time. And so I was very, 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 very happy with the result of that at 48:05, and that was better than I expected. So, what did the course look like, and how did things change over the course? So, got a little uh, page here. This is the data basically from the race. I've been using for 4 years, almost 5 years, a Stride foot pod. It's a little foot pod that clips onto the front of your shoe and measures power. So it's a way to, if you run consistently, you kind of have an idea of how much power you're generating, and that'll help you moderate your effort. But it does a really good job of analysis here. So I've got um, power and pace, and let me go ahead and highlight. There is uh, heart rate. There's heart rate on there, and I'll get rid of the power. Okay, so what we've got here in blue is the pace. The blue line is pace. The red line is my heart rate. And I show 6.17 miles. If you look at that, 6.17, the race is a 10K is 6.21. There's always a little bit of error in GPS tracking. The course is USA Track and Field certified, so it's the exact distance. But I think where I messed up a little bit was I didn't start my watch until right after the start line, so I lost a few seconds there. So that's probably the difference, but it's essentially got the whole race here. So I started off, my heart rate at the start, if you see this, 10 seconds in, was 129. It's the beginning of a race. I'm excited. I warmed up, so I'd done a warm up maybe 15 minutes before the race started. So heart rate was about 129. But you notice by the time I get to about 2 minutes in, at this point, that's what am I, about a quarter mile in at this point, heart rate is at 147. So I'm well into the um, uh, out of zone 2 by for sure, and I'm well into zone 3. My VO2 max heart range is about 158 to 170. Now that's kind of VO2 max. So for me, this 140 to 155, 158 is that range that you want to be in for efforts or events that are in that 45 minutes to an hour. So that was my goal. Now I was a little worried that I hadn't really done a lot of super long intervals at this heart rate. I was like, well, I'll just see how my fitness, what it does. So a few minutes in, here I am, 3 minutes in. Uh, I don't know how far, 0.44 miles, less than half a mile, and my heart rate's at 150. And my goal was to try to keep my heart rate above 150 to maybe 160 at the end. That was kind of my goal. So as you can see, I'm going along, going along. The profile here is in gray. So you see down here, we got this profile. So we're kind of flat. I'm going through. Here we are at about 1.2 miles. You start seeing the downhill trend. My pace is going up. My heart rate is still 148, 150. So I was, I know the course at this point. So I knew that it was downhill. And if I want to run fast, I need to take advantage of the downhills as much as possible. So I pick up the pace a little bit. So here I'm going 717, 712, 720. My heart rate's still in that 148 to 150. We're getting 2 miles in. Now here's the third mile, the second to third mile. My pace is 710, 712. Heart rate's 150. And then we get to the bottom, right about mile 3, and you see this drop off in the pace. This blue line goes to 0. I stopped for a second or two and drank. Let me move this screen up, this one up, and do that. Yeah, I'll move this up. There we go. Oh, switch it out. Sorry about that. I'm going to switch them around here. Okay, this will be a little better. So you see this drop right here. I stopped for a couple of seconds to actually take a drink of water. So I had the little Dixie cups of water. I drank 4 or 5 ounces, dumped the back, the rest over my back. And then from that point, the hill, let's see, do that. There we go. That's a little better. The hill starts. So you go from about mile 3 to mile 3.5 or so is mostly uphill. So here's my heart rate. I stopped. It was at 152, going up the hill, pushing the pace. So, but my pace is dropping because I'm going uphill. I don't want to go too hard. But my heart rate's 157, 156, 157, 156. I didn't want to blow up going up the hill because I still have 3 miles to go at the top of the hill. I get to the top of the hill. The pace goes down. You see the pace drops. This is the last little steep part of the hill. I get down to like 939 a mile, the steep part. Heart rate is still 156, 157. Get to the top of the hill, pace picks back up. But I still maintain my heart rate in a low to mid 150s, which was kind of my goal. I didn't want to blow up halfway through. This last mile from mile 3.5, from mile 3 to 4 was it's the top of the hill. We get to mile 4. So mile 4 to 5. So mile 4 and mile 4 to 5 is a little bit uphill. You kind of see the trend of the profiles going a little bit uphill. I stopped at about mile 4.3. Once again, took a quick sip of water, dumped the rest over my back. I'm not very good at drinking water while running, so I just stopped for a few seconds and got back up to pace. Heart rate still in that 155, 156. Little rollers up and down, up and down. Heart rate still 156, 157. Now we get to the last mile. We're just at 5 miles, so just over the 5-mile mark. I'm on a pretty good pace at this point. There was a little bit of a hill at that point. Then at about mile 5.2, you're kind of mostly flat or downhill to the finish at this point. So I was like, okay, well, see if I can push the pace. My heart rate was 156, I got 157, 158, 158, 158. Pace is going down a little bit. I peaked out at like 161, 162. I didn't try to sprint at the end. I just picked up the pace and just tried to finish strong. So I finished up. Heart rate was about 161, 162 when I finished. So let's see here. So it was a strong finish, and I pretty much ran to my plan. I haven't done really any racing in 2 years. I haven't done any competitive running or anything in 2 years. So I wasn't really I wasn't used to the the discomfort, let's call it that instead of pain. Let's just call it discomfort. The discomfort that you experience when you're working at the very upper limits of your aerobic conditioning for longer periods of time. So I wasn't used to that, and that makes a difference in I think the overall performance. But as I was running the race, it was interesting because I've done a lot of road racing, and I've have a lot of history of kind of pushing myself as far as I feel I can push myself. So that kind of kicked in a little bit, and I think that helped me. But I didn't want to um, blow up too early, so I kind of tried to keep a nice, moderate, even pace throughout the race, and it paid off pretty good. So I was very happy with the result, um, and so yeah, 48:05 was a good result for me. And what's interesting though is if we take a look uh, at my training for this, it's important, I think, to know that I didn't train exclusively for this 10K race for a very long period of time. I um, I trained fairly. Uh, I focused my training for about an 8-week period on um, the Peachtree with the idea of being competitive in the race, but um, I didn't just train exclusively for the Peachtree Road Race for 6 months or something like I was doing back in 2021 or that type of thing. So my the important thing I think from the whole perspective of lifelong strength and health, and having a good solid aerobic base that can get you through 99% of what you're going to face on a day-to-day basis just in the course of living life, can serve as that base that you can then, for a short term, if you have a specific goal or something that you want to achieve, um, you can use that solid base and then just tweak it, just make those final adjustments in a short period of time and boost up your fitness, kind of sharpen that point a little bit on the end of your aerobic conditioning, which will allow you to perform a little bit better in a specific event. So that was my goal. If we look back here, what I started back in March. Here's the calendar. This is just running. So back in March, I was doing a couple of runs a week, a couple miles at a time. I was trying to do, if you take a look here, you see these little track icons. I've been doing some VO2 max intervals on the track, just as a way to do that VO2 max, not necessarily running intervals, but running was just a good way to get the VO2 max range. So I was doing that through March, and April came along, like, okay, I've got uh, basically 12 weeks to the Peachtree. I was like, okay, I want to start training, focusing a little bit more. So what I did was I just added an additional session each week of running, instead of just normally I'd be doing maybe a couple of Zwift sessions, a couple of rowing sessions, maybe one or two running over the course of a week. I just replaced one of those Zwift or rowing sessions essentially with a running workout to get me some extra running for the Peachtree. And that's all I figured that's all I needed to do, was to get used to running again. Now, my base conditioning that I'd been carrying through, I could probably have just continued doing that and completed the Peachtree Road Race, no problem, right? I would have been able to run it and would have been good, but I wouldn't have been able to really, really push myself probably as hard as I wanted to. We kind of bring, being competitive with myself. So I figured I got to do a little bit more, but I didn't just drop everything else and just go to running exclusively. I still kept a couple of other aerobic conditioning sessions in there. I kept typically one or two rowing sessions and one or two Zwift sessions in there. But I changed my running to trying to run 3 days a week. So here we are. What's this, mid April or so? I started doing a run there. I don't know what this couple weeks that were busy with just life and work, but by May 1st, the first part of May, that was 8 weeks out. I was pretty much figured I needed to do three dedicated running sessions a week. I was trying to do one longer, easier run, a run that was medium to longer with some harder effort at the end, and then another run that might introduce some VO2 max or real challenging intervals. So maybe like fast laps on the track or hill sprints or something like that to get my heart rate up into that upper ranges, 155, 160, 165, close to my max heart rate for a few minutes, the VO2 max training. But I also know that I needed to do some longer, what would be called maybe zone four, 3 sessions where you're what they call threshold or tempo, where you're running kind of race pace, but you're running for progressively longer times each week to kind of build up that tolerance for your body to be able to take running a hard effort for 45 minutes. So I was doing that a little bit. So I started in May, just doing, here's my weekly mileage over here. So the week of May 5th, I did 14.6 miles. The week of May 12th was a short week. I think I had work and we were doing a bunch of stuff with some work around the house. So only about 11 miles. Then I did 14 miles the week of the 19th, 13 miles the week of the 26th. So think of that Memorial Day weekend. And not mega distance, 18.73 miles the first week of June, 19.37. That was my longest. That was my longest week, the week of June 9th. So what's that? 3 weeks out from the Peachtree. I did a 5.5 mile easy run on zone 2 run on Tuesday. Thursday, I did some zone 2 for a couple miles. Then I did a little bit longer run. That was 6.5 miles. That was high, started off low zone 2, went to high zone 2, and I finished off with a couple of with a tempo, so a race pace effort for a few miles. And then on Sunday, I did run here with some fast laps around the track, kind of VO2 max. But that was my longest week training for 10K, 19.37 miles. Next week, pretty much the same, just a little bit shorter. I did on the 19th, I kind of did a time trial, a 10K time trial loop around my area here. That was 6.5 miles, but total distance was still 19. The 23rd, the week before the race, I did 17 miles. I did another little time trial there, kind of give me an idea. It was hot and humid. I wanted to push myself and get used to that. And then this last week was the race. So important thing is that you can, if you have that strong or that solid base of aerobic conditioning, you can tweak it and adjust it and fine tune it for maybe an event or something that you want to do. So in my case, being a runner, I enjoy running. I like competing. Spend a couple of months focusing on that running portion to do a little bit better in a specific event. And now I'm going to go back to, I'll probably run a couple days a week. I'm going to Zwift a couple days a week, row a couple days a week, kind of go back to where I was before, still maintaining that base level of fitness. And if I want to do another race, I can identify it in the future and just do some more specific run training, run focused aerobic training, aerobic conditioning sessions to get me there. So that's important. I think people think you have to be a runner all the time to run a race. No, if you have a good level of aerobic conditioning from doing a variety of activities, you can do an event, whether it's running or rowing or swimming or cycling. If you're used to doing it and you're good at the activity, just spend a little extra effort on that particular activity, kind of fine tune your conditioning. Now, you're not going to be probably get your absolute 100% best performance as if you spent all your time running, but you're going to get, I'd argue that you probably get 90, 95% of the way there by being a well-rounded aerobic athlete conditioning, and then sprinkle in that specific that you need for for that particular event. So here we're coming into mid-July. I'm going to go back to a mix. Today I didn't do much on Saturday. I just walked a little bit yesterday. Legs were a little sore. They're still a little tired and sore today. I did a 1 hour Zwift easy ride. Got just spin the legs for an hour, kind of solid zone 2, and I'm going to get back to normal starting on Monday. So, um, I've been I'll kind of use this as a way to talk a little bit about my experience with Morpheus at this point. I've been using it for 2 months now, almost 8 or 9 weeks, and kind of using it to kind of help me keep tabs on how much aerobic conditioning I'm doing and making sure that I'm not overextending myself from a recovery standpoint. So that'd be interesting to show what I did here. So this is today, just kind of my final review of Morpheus. And I guess skip to the end real quick. I'll tell you that I'm going to keep using Morpheus. I find it very, very valuable. It's not a miracle worker, but it's another way for you to keep tabs on yourself and make sure that you are not working too hard or not hard enough. Okay, so this is a screenshot from this morning, and this is recovery. So they generally anything 80 or above, you're in pretty good range as far as recovery. This green line here, you see with the hand over, is on 7/4. That was July 4th. That was race day. Yesterday, recovery was like 70. That was that orange. Today is the farthest line on the right. That's back to 81. This week before, I had 6 days that were lower recovery. I'm not really sure what was up with that, other than I think I might have had I felt a little off. I didn't feel sick, but I just felt a little off. Sleep was a little funky, and it was hot, and I cut back on my training a little bit. So who knows? I was kind of worried about that a little bit, but I woke up at 3 in the morning to get ready to run the Peachtree. My recovery was pretty good. I ran a great race, and then, as I expected, my recovery was down that next day, the day after. Right, the body is working to recover. Probably hadn't gotten everything a lot better today. So if we take a look at the HRV, heart rate variability, for that same or 14-day period, today, heart rate variability was 75. A couple of days before the race, on the second and third, it was 82, 83, kind of back to where it was. The day of the race was about average for me, 81. So pretty good there. So I felt pretty good there. The thing that's interesting is resting heart rate. So normally my resting heart rate when I do Morpheus is in the low 40s, 40 to 45. And you can see here, this was the day I highlighted here. This was 48. This one here, second to last bar on the bottom, that was yesterday, resting heart rate. So that was the day after the race. And typically heart rate is going to be elevated because your body's working to recover. So that kind of fit. And then today was still a little elevated. I'll be interested to see what it is tomorrow. My guess is I feel a lot better today. Yesterday was okay. Friday, I was just wiped out after the race. Between the heat and the humidity and the race itself, I was just really wiped out. Yesterday, I felt better. Today, I feel even better. I think I'll be back to normal tomorrow. But Morpheus, I think it's a good system. It's not perfect, but if you use it every day and you use it consistently and you pay attention and work with, once you get about a month or so worth of use and history, you'll be able to notice some trends. And the nice thing about Morpheus is based off of your recovery and your HRV, it'll adjust your zone 2 and VO2 max heart rate ranges, which I think is a very smart thing because the number is not static. Your body, depending how tired or where it is in the recovery spectrum, it might not be able to do the exact same level of work from day to day. It's going to vary depending on everything else that's going on in your body. So it adjusts those heart rate ranges. It might be 5 or 10 beats a minute when you're not as recovered as compared to full recovery, but I found it to match up very, very accurately with how I perform. So I'm going to keep using Morpheus the heart rate strap works great. The nice thing about it, it has a rechargeable battery. I've charged it up when I got the heart rate strap, so 2 months ago. I've worn it for a number of workouts, not all my workouts. I have a polar heart rate strap that I use, but I've worn it for a number of workouts, and I have to use it every morning for the recovery and HRV analysis, and it's still showing a 75% charge. So I haven't had to charge up the monitor, the heart rate strap, since I've got it, basically May 1st. So durability seems to be very good. Ease of use is very good. The one thing that Morpheus does not connect with every watch system. Right now, it'll download data from Garmin, Fitbit, and uh, Google Health. Is it Health Connect? It does not integrate directly with Coros, Polar, or Sunto yet. I think they're going to add that in the next 6 months or so. At least that's what I'm hearing. But right now, to download activities into Morpheus, you have to use Garmin Connect, Fitbit, or Google Health, essentially. Now you can use the phone, pull up the Morpheus app, hook up the phone, um, and use Morpheus directly. So you can connect the heart rate monitor to the Morpheus app and use it directly as you're working out. But I don't carry my phone with me when I'm running. But you can just do that, pull up the thing, connect heart rate monitor, connect it, and go. So if you're home and maybe you're using a treadmill, or you carry your phone with you when you're running, you're outside, you can go directly to the phone. But if you're using a watch, like a lot of us use, a sports watch of some kind, and then record the data here with your own heart rate strap, Morpheus will pull from Garmin Connect into the app to be able to do the analysis. So that's um, Garmin is the most popular system, but not everybody uses Garmin. So that's one thing that they will be adding. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. I got a comment on one of the videos asking about that. So yeah, for now it's mostly Garmin and Fitbit and Health Connect, but they are going to add other ones. That's really the only downside at this point. But you can use it with any heart rate monitor as long as you're using the phone directly. Now, talking about lifelong strength and health, there are a lot of people, like I said, that ran the Peachtree yesterday, 52,000. And um, the oldest finish are a lot of people much older than me participating in the Peachtree. But I think this is the oldest finisher of this year's Peachtree. So I want to give a big shout out to Caroline Wilson at the tender age of 96, 96 years old. She competed in the Peachtree, and she finished it in 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 27 seconds, and an average pace of 19:52 a mile. 96 years old. She finished it in under 20 minutes a mile. So walking essentially at 3 miles an hour, she finished the Peachtree. What's amazing is her first mile was 13:09. So I think if she's who I think she is, she still runs a little bit, jogs a little bit. So she probably walked and jogged the first few miles, and then the last couple miles she slowed down a little bit. But 96 years old, I give a big 2 thumbs up, and a lifelong strength and health gold star of the week to Caroline Wilson from Baldwin, Georgia. 96 years young. That's amazing. So if anybody tells you that it's too late to exercise and get the benefits of training for lifelong strength and health, I think Caroline will. Where is she? This way. Yeah, Caroline will have a bone to pick with you there, because she's still getting it done at age 96. So big thumbs up to Caroline. I think she's the oldest finisher. There were a number of men, I think 7 or 8 men that were 90 to 94 age group, but nobody over age 95 completed the Peachtree this year. She was the only woman. There were 3 or 4 women in the 90 to 94 age group as well, but Caroline was the oldest finisher, at least that I found. So amazing. And that's what I want to be in 30, 35 years for me. I'd like to be 96 and finishing the Peachtree. Who knows? But I'm going to be training for it and want to work on building my lifelong strength and health and maintaining it so I can be as active as I can be as late into life as possible. So big shout out, to Caroline there, because that is that's amazing. That's amazing. So, if any of you have any comments, I don't know if any of you are watching this either live or after the fact. If you ran the Peachtree 2025, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what your experience was with this year's Peachtree or any other Peachtree or any other event that maybe you've done here this summer. I'd love to hear your results, what your experiences were, and how you've been training, because I'm a firm believer that you can build that good solid base of aerobic conditioning that can get you through pretty much everything. And then with just a little fine tuning, you can position yourself to enjoy a specific event and maybe perform very respectably in that one event. So it's not just about mindlessly exercising. You have a goal. And if you're training for lifelong strength and health, that goal is, yeah, to be 30, 40, 50 years in the future. But you can take advantage of that conditioning and have fun at an event just by tweaking it a little bit. So leave a comment down below. Let me and everybody else know what you've been doing with your training. And if you want some help getting started with your exercise, maybe you're confused, you want to make sure that you get started safely and confidently, there's a link down below. You can book an exercise strategy session with me where we'll go over and I'll help you get started safely and confidently so you can start building your own version of lifelong strength and health. So that's it for today. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to leave a comment. And if you like what you see here, hit that like button and share it with somebody that could benefit as well. And if you're not a subscriber, why not? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become part of the community here. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos. I should be doing one here next week on a little bit more specific on getting the basics of aerobic conditioning. So look for that in the next week or so. And I'm going to be adding additional videos focusing on lifelong strength and health and how you can take advantage of that. So be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss anything. And until then, till the next video, be well, take care, be well, and enjoy the journey. We'll see you later.